Hey everyone, this is Matt Johnson with Viral Marketing, and we're excited for today's CyberStars Hangout. And so we're here to talk with not only Brad Korn, which you're obviously familiar with, but we also have a very special guest who's going to talk about how to leverage technology to grow your business. So let's start with Brad. Brad, tell us a little bit about yourself and then introduce our special guest for the day. Brad, can you hear us? Hey, how about you? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Brad's trying to text us, I think.
Yeah, he must have completely been kicked off the Hangout right away. So well, I think he might be here in about 5 seconds here.
I'm back. I don't
All
know what
right.
happened to me.
Oh, the wonders of technology, right?
He had a
Yeah,
little perplexed look for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, he
So,
just went away. He just left, or he froze up.
well, I had just introduced you and turned it over to you, Brad. So regale us with your background a little bit, and then introduce Pay to everyone.
All right, great. Well, guys, welcome to the event tonight. Thanks to Viral Marketing for putting this all together too. They're really making the video stuff work. I don't know why my side's not working. Everything worked great until till then, but no, been in real estate for 25 years, and I took over the CyberStars organization. It's been around we're on our 20 years this year. Alan Haynes started the CyberStars group back in 1991, or I'm sorry, 1995, doing a technology panel at a NAR event, and he had three top techie agents. And you know, in 1995, Matt, the internet was just created by Al Gore. I mean, I
Right.
think that's what started that,
Well,
right?
that's what I learned in my history class, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they had a panel and they packed the room, and the three agents that were on the panel were like, "Hey, we need to find some more techie agents," and that has grown to over 150 of the top techiest agents all across the country. Well, Pei Lin's been one of the cyberstars. Both Pei Lin and I have probably both been a cyberstar for, I think, over 10 years now. And Alan Haynes, who started this, passed away last year, actually in September of last year when we were at our annual conference. The weekend of our event, he passed away, and we were in his hometown, and it's all cool there. But so he passed the torch over about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's awesome that I get to, it's like the kid has a candy store here. I get to hang out with all the top techie agents and coordinate all this stuff, and we have an event every year, and we'll talk more about that at the end. But I really wanted to get Pei Lin in because she's done some really cool stuff with technology, and I've learned so much from her that it was really an awesome chance to get her for a little bit of time tonight to really share with us what she's doing with technology in her business. So, all right. You want me to go ahead and kick it off there, Matt? Am I still here?
Yeah, we can still hear you. Do you want to introduce Pay and kind of tell people a little bit about her background and kind of what led you to interview her for the event?
Yeah, so Paylin's had a pretty big year, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But what I wanted to do is just really jump this right back over to Paylin and let her tell you about where she is in her business, what her business looks like, and really, I mean, get right into how she's using technology in her business, and just hopefully you can pick up 3, 4, 5, maybe even 20 nuggets that you can bring back to your business. And before we even get started, though, I got to tell you, we get moving. Paylin is going to really just be herself. She's going to be open with what she does. That part's cool. I sometimes get going about 1,000 miles an hour, and I know what happens when we have these technology conferences. We're talking about a lot of app names and things to download. So here's what I'm going to tell you before we even turn her loose and get this going, is that if you hear a name of an app or something and you're not sure what it is, hang tight. Just stay tuned in what Paylin's telling you about the app. Matt and I will make sure we get those names posted in the sidebar so you can see what that app is and all that. And I'll dig in on a little bit and find out more about how she uses those. So once we get going, just know that with that spelling of an app or something, Matt and I will help you with that. And worst case scenario, we'll have emails and stuff at the end that we can get that information from you if you still need something else. So, Paylin, I hope you're there. I hope your screen hasn't frozen. You don't look like you've moved much. Wave or something.
I'm here. I'm listening.
All right. Cool. Well, so it's really, truly, this is so awesome. And Paylin and I have been laughing for the last week now when I asked her to do this, because she's like, I'll do anything for you, Brad, but this is crazy. So, Paylin, you get to just be here. There's no audience in front of you. You're comfortable at home. We're just going to chat about what you're doing in your business and what it's been like to be a Cyberstar. So can you just kind of open up, let people know what your business even looks like, where you are? I mean, where does your business come from? What's your business look like right now?
I'm from Syracuse, New York, which is in upstate New York, central New York, about 2 hours from Albany, an hour and a half from Rochester, 3 hours from Buffalo. And I've been in real estate over 25 years. I have a team of full-time customer care and closing coordinator, and then a full-time listing coordinator, and 3 buyer's agents, and myself. And we do about 80 to 125 transactions depending on the year and the market.
And how long have you been selling real estate?
Since 1987, 27 years.
Wow. So, like, is there a turning point in real estate where you finally did something, got plugged into something, started listening to people, started going to conferences, or anything where your business started to turn and you got from being were you a regular agent ever, or have you always been a superstar?
Oh no, I was a slow learner. I was pregnant when I when I was getting my license, I found out I was pregnant. So that, I had my baby, and then we went abroad. My husband teaches, and we taught for a semester. I had a little starts and stops in my career, and but just kept steadily working at it. And I'm a late bloomer in everything. Late bloomer to attending conferences, but once I started one conference, I just found out I just learned so much. If you pick up 1, 2, 3 things that you can implement in your business, and you do that regularly, that's how you grow and that's how you expand.
So it's been a little over, I think it's probably been a little over 10 years since we met originally at the Cyberstars, and that's the, again, where the top techie realtors were getting together. How did you end up getting plugged into Cyberstars, and has that been a big part of getting you to where you are today?
I was a slow learner there too, because I was invited by Alan, recommended by Rob Levy in Portland, and I just was so busy in my business, I didn't really think that I could take the time away. I don't know why I didn't do it. But finally, Rob kind of slapped me on the side of my face and said, "Do you know what a good opportunity this is? You've got to go." And so after probably 2 or 3 invitations from Alan, I joined. And I've made some really good, strong friendships there. And it's a very, very sharing group. And that's how I learn a lot of what I implement.
So how do you continue to grow your business today? Is there anything specific you do that you focus on each year to make sure that your business is moving forward and that you're growing?
Just when it's the continuing learning at the conferences, coming home, you have so many ideas, just pulling one idea and implementing it. And then pulling another idea and implementing it, and bringing it locally and sharing it with your team.
So I think that's the key part, guys. And as a business coach, I've coached a lot of top agents as well. And it really is. You come back from the conference. Paylin said, bring back an idea and implement it. But she came home with probably, 50, 60, 70, 100 ideas, right? You just took a couple of them and put them in place. Yes,
and I record all my conferences, all my classes. Anything educational, I record and I type. I'm a fiend typist. And I like to go back and review them. One of the apps I use to do that, if I'm not going ahead of your schedule, is Notability. I started with SoundNote, which I like that app a lot. And with SoundNote, you can type and record at the same time, and the audio will sync to that point in your notes. So you don't have to listen to the whole recording to get what you want. You can review your notes and say, oh, listing presentation, and then just click that point to listen to it. SoundNote had its drawbacks because it wasn't cloud-based. It didn't sync with all my devices. I couldn't take pictures within SoundNote, and accidentally I found Notability, which unfortunately for the Android users, it is just a iPhone, iPad app, and Mac. So with Notability, I can have it on my iPhone, on my iPad, and on my Mac. And it does sync to the cloud, and you can back up, and you can share, and you can handwrite, and you can type, and you can record, and you can take pictures and take screenshots. So what I do is, if I'll be typing my notes, and there'll be a really great visual on the screen, I'll just lift up my iPad and snap a picture, and then continue with my notes.
So this is, you don't even know this, but I give you 100% credit for when I went to SoundNote. I'm the same way. I believe education and everything is about repetition and hearing it over and over and over again to get it implemented and get it in place. And I've recorded everything I've ever gone to, and then I review my notes and I listen to the recorded version on like the plane ride home. I'll review all the classes, and you can zip ahead. So I'm still on SoundNote, but I definitely am going to check out Notability. For other listeners on the call, you might be familiar with Evernote. Well, that's what I love about this group, because Evernote's a big app, and a lot of people know about it. But, Paylin, for what you and I do on our trainings and stuff, if it's a 45-minute webinar, Evernote couldn't handle it. So SoundNote was still what I was doing there, but I hate not being cloud-based. So today I'm already moving over to Notability. So that's why these things are so awesome. You learn something new every day.
Well, one of the nice things about Notability, which was frustrating with me with SoundNote, is that because it syncs automatically, I don't have to do anything. And if I want to hear just the audio, I can be driving in my car and listening to a conference I went to on my iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like SoundNote met Evernote, and they had a baby, and that baby's Notability.
That's another reason why. That's about as techy as we talk at a CyberStars conference right there. Evernote and SoundNote had a baby. That's how techy we get. So, hey, you had a killer year. So when I was talking about growing your business, you've had actually a killer couple of years, and it's probably been even more than that. But so in the last couple of years, this year, you accomplished something like locally, what I would consider one of the biggest things, the biggest accomplishments you can make in real estate, and that was to get Realtor of the Year. And then the other thing that you did last summer was you had one of the top 3 read blogs, like almost in the whole real estate industry, but we'll talk about that one in a minute. Tell me about Realtor of the Year, because that is like huge. That's a big deal. What does somebody have to do if you're techie and stuff? I mean, is there anything specific that you did, or you tie back to being nominated for Realtor of the Year and winning it?
I was nominated by one of my peers to be Realtor of the Year. There were 4 of us who were nominees, and we had to fill out a form. They look at not just production, they look at your realtor spirit, they look at, which is how nice you play with realtors, and they look at your community involvement. Certainly, they look a bit about your business and how you conduct yourself. But I'm really, really honored that I got the nomination, first of all, and then when I actually got Realtor of the Year, that was just speechless.
No, it's a big deal. So here's the thing I just want you guys to hear from that right there, because we're on a techie webinar, so I know you came to get some techie stuff. However, remember, Paylen's doing a lot of volume, right? They don't usually pick Realtor of the Year by volume, I can tell you that. But here's the point, that even as busy as you are, you still plug back in and give back to the community that supports your industry. The second thing that I picked up on right there, Paylen, is how you play with other realtors, and I think that what I personally found is what contributes to doing a lot of volume as well. If agents love working with you, they show your properties more. Would you say that's the same for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that if you're polite and make it easy, you can still represent your client without being a witch.
Right.
And I recently read an article about the different styles of negotiating, and of course I don't remember any of the other styles, but what stood out was collaborative style, where you're both trying to get a win-win. And it doesn't mean win-lose. It doesn't mean if it's win-win you're not representing your client, because what's a win to one party may be something that's not important to the other one, but you can still make the other party feel really good about the transaction.
Yeah, so for all those strong personalities out there, what you do is you have the other party feel like they won what they wanted, but you win what you want your client to win. That's what I say. You like that, Matt? Like that?
Yeah, that's as a high D, I appreciate that. Thank you, Brad.
That was the high D personality profile. All right, so here's the next part too. Paylen wrote just a blog on how to leverage your iPad in your real estate business. And what was absolutely amazing is that this shy little person in Syracuse that sells a lot of real estate and is Realtor of the Year, so she's way bigger than she thinks she is. She ends up getting the top third read blog for like the summer. And what was interesting about it was it beat out Dave Ramsey's blog. Like Dave Ramsey spoke at a real estate event, and he was the fourth biggest blog. And then there was somewhere down the line there was actually a blog about some realtors that pooled together their money on a Powerball ticket, and they all won $1 million. Their pool won $1 million. So these realtors, there was a group of about 12 or 13 of them. So Paylen beat all these people out, and everybody, it was the top third read most blog on how to turn your iPad, use your iPad to run your regular business. So now we're going to kick it into high gear, guys. So get out your pens and try and listen close, because it's going to go quick. Paylen, in that blog, you talked about how the iPad drives your everyday business. And I just want to give everybody kind of a frame around the rest of the conversation tonight about what does that mean where it's driving your business. What's it look like when a realtor has a real estate business running through their iPad?
Well, I think that to be successful right now, you really need to do things quickly. You know, when we're in a seller's market, you definitely have to do things quickly because there are competing offers. You're trying to beat people out, trying to get your client's offer in first. And it's not, we're so in the field, and you can't always go back to your office and to write an offer. You might need to do something in Starbucks or McDonald's. One of my early success stories with my iPad, I showed a house, and we were either competing or about to compete, and we really, really wanted to get that offer in, and rather than drive to my office to write the offer, we just went to a nearby McDonald's, and there was a playground, so my client's son could play there, and we could keep an eye out. And I wrote the offer right on my iPad. I think I was using McDonald's Wi-Fi at the time. I had the buyer sign the contract on my iPad. I emailed it out to the other agent from McDonald's, and we had an acceptance back in my email, in my inbox, before we left McDonald's.
And that was a competing bid too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're sitting at McDonald's and you've already gotten it back that you beat out the other bid. So was there anything particular about that you think got it? Was it the speed? I mean, just getting it to them quick? Okay.
I think it was the speed, and besides writing a good, strong offer.
Right. Well, so here's something interesting about McDonald's, because I was fortunate enough to get to go see my daughter in Wales while she was going to school there for a semester. And I'm telling you guys, we can have a whole nother debate on the healthiness or enjoyment factor of McDonald's food. But this is your universal real estate office around the planet. When we were in Wales, literally my daughter, every time she saw McDonald's, now understand she's been living there for several months, every time we saw McDonald's, she's like, stop, we got to go into McDonald's. And it was the only way that I could actually plug back into the world to see what was really happening back at home. So McDonald's is a good universal real estate office. And you even mentioned that you were a late bloomer with the iPad. So what I want to help people understand is, like, how did you move, if you were a late bloomer and the iPad was actually around, what was that transition like to move to start using the iPad on a daily basis? I mean, if I'm listening right now and I've been using my computer and I'm racing back to the office and I'm leaving family dinners to run back and go get contracts, what you share with us how you kind of made that transition and what that looked like?
Well, when the iPad came out, I thought, well, it's a nice toy, not anything I'm really interested in. But then I went out to Albuquerque and visited another cyberstar, Linda DeVliet, and we met probably at Starbucks again, and she was showing me her iPad and what she could do with it, and it fascinated me, and I thought, well, I don't know that I would use it in business, but I work really hard, and it seems like a fun toy, so I'm going to get one. I deserve it. But lo and behold, I've just used it more and more and more for my business, and now I use it more for business reasons than personal reasons. And my advice would be just start with one thing and use it, and then go on to another. Don't get too overwhelmed by the plethora of apps out there, the gazillions of apps. I think it really hit home to me when I wrote an addendum on my Mac in Pages, which is the Apple version of Word. But I wrote an addendum and had to change something, in the course of negotiating. And I opened my iPhone up to, I thought, retype the whole addendum, open Pages up, and dang, there was my addendum. I didn't do anything. It just appeared magically. It floated in the cloud from my Mac to my iPhone, and all I had to do was change a word on the addendum and shoot it out, get it signed, and I was done. So that's the first thing I remember doing.
Gotcha. And so
Pei, out of all, like you mentioned, like the plethora of all the apps and things you can do with it, like what do you feel is the most high impact app? If you were to start with one thing as an agent just getting into dabbling with the iPad, what do you think is the thing that will have the most impact on their business?
I can't say. That's like, what's your favorite child?
So remember,
I'm looking at my list here, and can I do without that? No. Can I do without that? No.
well,
Question.
let me ask you this. How do you figure out which app to use? Because we hear about hundreds of apps and there's articles all the time. And how do you figure out which one you're going to go with and use it?
I Google a lot. I'll just Google how to blah, 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 blah. Or I go in the App Store and I'll read the reviews and see what it does, and that's how I pick it. I don't even know how I found Notability, but I really am glad I did.
Yeah, no, it sounds awesome. In fact, that's probably one of my starred items right now is to check out Notability. Again, that's just for the Mac users or the Apple users. But all right, so I want to move into some really cool stuff too. Well, first of all, before we do that, we're talking about running our daily business from it, and I know you're like 95% paperless, and this is another thing that I see these type of headlines all the time on things that we can go learn how to be paperless. So is there anything you could share with our audience on really what's that first step to becoming paperless, and like what would that look like in a daily business? Like what's the first thing I should, as an average agent, try to use on my iPad to do paperless and eliminate some paper in the transaction?
Well, paper is my backup. Whereas a lot of times for people, digital is their backup to paper. We're the opposite. And our entire office is paperless now. We don't ever save anything to the hard drive. We save everything online to Box. We have all our transaction files there. We have all our anything and everything file. All our pictures, all our articles, anything. So
that's Box.net.
It's empty. Well, yeah. Not entirely true, because with Box, not only can you save it online, you can save it offline, a hard copy locally as well. So that's one of the beauties of Box. So you can have it everywhere. You can have it on your iPhone. You can have it on your iPad. So at a given moment's notice, I can get a call from an agent who says, I want the home inspection for your listing at 123 Main Street. I can go right into here, and everything that my entire office is right here and accessible. It may not be local, I may have to pull it in, but I can pull it in and I can email it out and share it. I can look at a contract here anytime I want. There's no more, I left the file at home, I left the file at the office, oh, it's on my office computer, oh, I lost the file. There's none of that. But I didn't start with Box, so when I first started thinking of going paperless, I used Dropbox. And I didn't worry about scanning my old files. I just picked a point in time, and from that time on, we started going paperless. And I did that for a little while, but then I was a little frustrated with Dropbox. Now, it's been a few years, and this information may not be correct anymore, but when I was using Dropbox, if I shared with someone, if they deleted the folder, they deleted my folder. So the security wasn't there, and with Box, I really have control of the permissions and how I want to share it. I can choose someone to have as much access as I do. I can choose to have them upload, download, and share, but not delete. I can let them delete. I can have them upload only. I can have them download only. And I can have them view only, which actually is really, really handy. I had a client who was very control-oriented and very picky about their pictures, and wanted to see everything before I uploaded the pictures. So I did not want to give them a copy because that's my intellectual property. Not theirs, but mine. So what I did was I shared the folder with them, let them preview. They could not download, and they could make comments. So it's kind of like a Facebook chat and forth. So they can actually make comments on the photo and say, I like this one, but I don't like that one, or do this, don't do that. So that was my first sharing experience. And now I do that with contracts. Actually, I've negotiated many a contract while I was at CyberStars, and use that function where I share the contract with the owner, and we're just chatting back and forth. It's kind of like top producer closing notes, but it's in box, and you have the whole history, the whole stream. And the perfect thing about that is when you share a folder with someone, if you make a comment, they automatically get an email notification of that comment, which is really effective within the team, because if I say update them on the status of a contract, I just have to put the notes in box, make a comment, and they automatically get notified. Instead, in the past when I was using Top Producer, and we still use Top Producer, but we use Box more for the contract management, in Top Producer I would have to type in a closing note, copy and paste, and then email it out to everyone. Whereas this, it's just one step. I just make the note, they're automatically notified. And I know when somebody else makes a note, I know when somebody's previewed a folder, downloaded anything, so I know everything that's being done.
That's being done. So this is, guys, listen to me. This is why I wanted Pei-Lin to share this stuff with you, because it's not about glitz and fancy and really cool things. It's about how do you run a real estate business for real. Well, I think you just basically described like what all of us would be like, oh my gosh, that's great. Just put the note in there, comment, something's been changed, and that's it. So definitely, that is awesome. So this is about really, truly apps and things that you can use to run your business. So now I want to move into something fun, though, but it's still real-world stuff. You had talked in a blog about, and for anybody who wants to look for that blog, if you just Google how to leverage the iPad in your real estate business, you're going to find Pei-Lin's blog where you can really get some more information on what we're talking about tonight. But I'm even kind of digging into more than what she even covered in the blog. So in there you talked about being task-oriented and again, going back to using the iPad on a daily basis. What I loved about it is you were talking about how you use it for your buyer consultations and your seller consultations. So can you share with us how an agent could be using that iPad with just either working with buyers and or sellers in a listing presentation? How do you use that?
Well, when I meet with the seller, I'll take notes in Notability now. And take pictures of the house, and I can immediately share it with the team. In my paper days, I would take notes and sometimes lose them. I would take notes and I would keep them and not share them. So it just wasn't efficient. And now it's much more efficient because I can share immediately. And with taking of the pictures, it helps the team, for those of us who have teams, because they can see the house as you're seeing the house. And even for single agents, you forget details. So between the notes and the pictures and having it all in one place, so that if you do lose your notes, you won't lose your notes actually, because it will be in the cloud. Even if you lose your iPad, you'll still have it. I use the iPad with sellers when I'm talking about comparables for their houses. I will email a link to myself of the neighborhood or the comps I want them to see. And with an iPad, it's so easy because just with the pinch of a finger, you can make things bigger or smaller. So when I want them to look at the pictures of the houses, I just blow it up a little bit and go through the pictures, and I let them see what's out there. And invariably, they end up saying, oh, you know, we really need to be under that price. Look at this house. They're at this price, and they've got granite and 3-car garage and whatever. So the seller is really doing their own CMA instead of you.
So you're actually like doing a market analysis, a CMA, right there on the house. Are you doing it live on the iPad, like you're pulling those pictures off of MLS and comparing their house?
Yeah. And then you're not the bad guy because you're showing them data. It's not your opinion. It's actual facts that you're showing them.
Well, I love that
But
because
you're able to control the presentation of it by how you manipulate the iPad. You can show them and have them zoom in on exactly what you want them to see to get the most impact out of what the information you're trying to get across.
Right, and then if they have a question, it's easy to just shrink it and scroll with your finger to get the information that they want, rather than putzing with a mouse and, you know, getting to the next page and trying to blow it up. It's just easier and faster.
now I hope you guys heard that, because like blowing it up and showing the granite countertops or not can show some of the details in the house right there on the iPad. And here's something else I learned from some of our techie cyberstars. Ira was telling me that, you know, used to be like something at 72 DPI is what you could basically do on a website, because that's about all a regular computer screen will handle anyway. But on the iPads, the resolution is a lot better, and it's more like 150 DPI. Now I'm getting a little techie on you guys, but it's just a higher resolution picture. So another thing, just a little sidebar, if you are pretty techie, think in terms of 150 DPI. I started changing my lower resolution photos to a little bit higher resolution because so many people are using things mobily. So that brings me to the next part with the buyer consultations, and this was probably one of the things I got most excited about. You had talked about how you were with buyers using streaming video on your iPad when you're showing properties and out-of-town buyers and stuff. Tell us what that looks like in real-world real estate.
Well, I've been in situations where either one party or the other wasn't at the house, or maybe an out-of-town buyer left town and then a house came up that they really liked. And what I used to use Quick Video, QIK, which is no longer available, and I still haven't quite found a proper replacement, although you can Skype, you can FaceTime. There's an app, two apps I'm playing with, Livestream and Ustream, to see if it does the same thing. But with Quick, what I could do is live stream the video as I'm walking through. So I would give them my Quick link, tell them to sit at their computer, and as I'm walking through the house, they're on their computer halfway across the country looking the house as I'm looking at. And if they weren't available live, I would upload the video to the Quick website, and it would give me a link for them to look at it later. And again, you can do it via FaceTime. The way I would probably do it now, but until I find a replacement app, if they couldn't join me live time, is I'd probably FaceTime, just video it on my iPhone, and then I would upload it to Box, and then Box allows me to give a link for them to get to that file, and then they could look at it that way. And I know this isn't a Box webinar, but Box just does so much. Every few weeks, I'll just discover something about Box, and they're like, oh my gosh, can you believe it does that? It just does so much. You can give out URLs to folders, to files. You can have an email address to that folder so that you're emailing directly into the folder. It's just crazy.
Well, and you've been talking about Box for probably about 4 years, 5 years. So that's another thing I love about this group is we hear about things usually 5, 6, 7 years before it like becomes big. So Dropbox is the big thing right now. When in actuality, I've already heard several things that Box does that Dropbox doesn't do. Or maybe it does, I don't know, but it's opened my mind to several different things I can start using, and I know you've been like harping on it for a long time. Is there anything else in your day-to-day real estate business that I haven't asked you about that you use the iPad for that somebody could really see going mobile with their real estate business?
How would you like to make a phone call with your iPad?
Oh, cool. Are you doing that?
Yes, you can do that. I use Google Voice, so my entire business, I don't give out my cell phone. I give out my Google Voice number, and I have my Google Voice ring my cell phone and the office, so that if I'm with a client and customer, instead of waiting until I'm free, they can still get a live person. With Google Voice, I text from Google Voice, so it's easy to share my texts with the office or with a client. I use that with GV Connect. That's the app. Actually, I use several apps with Google Voice, but what's noteworthy about GV Connect is you'll be in a text thread and you hit forward as email, and that whole stream you can just paste into an email. And again, easy to keep people informed. I use GV Mobile Plus, the plus sign, and that lets me set all the Google Voice settings on my iPhone instead of having to wait until I'm at a computer and then changing the settings. I use Hangouts with my Google Voice, and that lets me dial a client directly, calling them, and my Google Voice number will show up as the caller ID instead of my cell phone. Now,
Yeah.
Droid users are really lucky, because Droid users who use Google Voice, they don't have to do anything, and their Google Voice number is their caller ID. But for iPhone users, that's what I do to work around that.
That is some
And speaking
cool.
of Hangouts, which is what I was just going to say that the Hangouts pay out. Have you used them for three-way conferences before? Because we've done that. We use Hangouts for that all the time. We'll get one of the coworkers on the Hangout, and then we bring somebody else in on the phone. You can do conference call, just quick and dirty conferences that way.
I've been using Join.me for conferences, and I just discovered something really cool yesterday. Join.me is, it's a webinar platform, kind of like GoToMeeting, I suppose. You can share your screen with people, and they can join you, audio, and you can record the whole darn thing. So,
Whoa.
yeah. So I'm using it for training. So we had a team meeting yesterday, and not everybody could be there. So I just had them join.me, and I showed them what I wanted to show them, and they called in. You can call in either with your computer or with a 800 number, and I recorded the whole thing. And then I went to the link, and I looked at the link, and then guess what? I could download it. I could download the whole video, and I uploaded it to Box, because they have a weird numbers. They don't let you rename it, so you don't know what the video is. So what I did was I uploaded it to Box, and I hit rename, and I just named it the subject of what we were talking about so that we could refer back. And there I can build a training library for the team. That's my big call for the week.
Yeah, that is really cool. There's a lot of cool things you can do with Join.me. There's another thing. If you have their pro account, you can actually turn over access and control of whatever computer you're on to somebody else. So if there's something that's on a computer that you're away from your computer, you can set up a Join.me, and you can actually control that computer and almost use it as a remote support. So Join.me has a lot of very cool features. So there was something.
It's not expensive. I think it's $250 a year.
Yeah, it's not like, even for their pro. I think it's number one, you can get their free pro trial and just kind of test drive everything to see if it's worth it. And then it's not very much for the actual subscription. So I think Brad left us again, but hey, tell me a little bit about Form Tools and DocuSign, the real hardcore, the tools that you need to actually get contracts signed and all that stuff.
Well, Form Tools is really neat. I was using it before DocuSign. Form Tools is a PDF annotator. What you can, and it's so simple. There are lots of apps that can do this, but Form Tools is just so simple. So what you can do is you could import a PDF, let's say a sales contract, and you can set form fields. You can set fields to type in buyer's name, the address, all the blanks in the contract. You can type, or you can handwrite. You can also write. You can also make it be a template, for example. So you could name the fields buyer name, buyer one name, and then if you fill out all the fields that you want to be buyer one name, you only have to fill it out once, kind of like Instinet forms, and then it'll just automatically populate all the appropriate fields that way. And it's easy to make copies. So when you're in the field, I would just take your contracts, set all your form fields, and then make a copy and quickly type up a contract. It's still nice and neat. The buyer can sign it on the spot, and then you can email it out.
So when I put the property address in, or George William Stephanopoulos or something like that, it's all filling that in on all my forms, because those that box is connected throughout the different forms. Awesome. Cool. Any other apps that you think everybody listening should have that we haven't mentioned that would run just everyday business?
Well, I look at Zite, Z-I-T-E, every day, and it collects articles and blogs and from everywhere, and it learns your taste. So it lets you like an article or thumbs down an article, and then it'll just keep bringing you this similar articles. And you can also set your Zite per topic. So I like to read about technology. I like to read about travel. I like to read about Syracuse. So I set those topics in there, and you can just go and it'll pull whatever's out there on those topics. And that's probably how I found out about Notability, actually, now that I think about it. I use that as material to share on Facebook. I'll use it for ideas to share with clients. It just helps you have conversation points, whether it's social media conversation or actual person-to-person, email-to-email conversation. And I will look at that every day.
Awesome. All right, so now the big question. I'm ready to go mobile. You've got me kind of, I mean, I'll tell you, here's what I've kind of picked up, and Matt, you tell me how you feel, but Pei-Lin's really broke this down to where if I'm an average agent, I can actually see myself starting to get a little more mobile than I was before tonight. Would you feel the same way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was something in your blog article, Pei, that caught my eye, which I thought was really good and really practical, a great piece of practical advice. And you said just pick a task. You know, that's where you start. You don't start with the app and try to figure out all the things you can do with it. What you do is you start by figuring out, here's the job that I want to get done, here's the task that I have to do, and then you just search for something that can accomplish that task. And that's the best thing, that's the best place to start, is figure out what you don't want to do, figure out what's not worth your time or where the friction is in your business, and then look for the apps that will help with that specific task.
Well, and the other thing she said too is you start with one thing. Don't try and tackle it all. You know, that was another thing I picked up on. All right, so you got me all excited, Pei-Lin. I'm ready to go paperless, and I'm ready to go iPad in my business. What iPad should I get? I'd
get the most memory that you can afford. I would try to discourage you, excuse me, from losing my voice. I would discourage you from getting the 16 gig because I think you would very soon outgrow it, especially if you have a lot of pictures and videos. And you can double the amount of space by paying $100. So the 32 gig is $100 more than the 16. The 64 gig is $100 more than 32. The 128 gig is more than the 64. My son, bless his heart, always said, "Oh, Mom, you don't need that." And I listened to him and I regretted it. So now I just get the most space that I can afford. And whether you go with a full size or a mini, I think that's personal preference. I really like the mini. It's so handy and easy to carry around. But when I'm sitting with a client, I think the full size is better on the eyes, you know, seeing the pictures. I would strongly encourage you to get, again for $100, the 4G model, so that not only can you use Wi-Fi, but you're out and about and you don't have Wi-Fi, you can still get connected. And you do not have to have a Wi-Fi plan every month and commit to that. You can if you want, but you don't have to. You could just turn it on when you need it. And what if that gives you one contract? That commission alone has paid for that $20 of Wi-Fi for that month.
So you decide on one iPad and you get it, and then if you decide you got the full size, then you want the mini as well, then you just save your time, go mobile, do it digitally, save time, make more money, and then buy yourself the mini as a gift, right? And then you have both. Cool. Yeah, I actually was challenged. Where was I? I left for a conference and I set my computer bag. Now, Palin knows my computer bag looks like a suitcase in itself. It's my mobile office. And I set it down by my garage door, ran out to my car, and it was one of those trips. Yeah. One of those trips where I literally was like going to miss the plane if I wasn't in my car in 5 minutes, and I knew exactly how long it was going to take. So I actually had to go completely off my mobile phone. And it was I was at an event in Dallas, and I went and bought a little, you know, the little $99 tablets at Walmart or whatever. I didn't even use it. I pretty much did everything I needed to do through my phone, which I have the mini iPad, so it's a little bit bigger screen. I don't need where'd they go? Oh yeah, I don't need my reader glasses with my mini as much, but I also don't need them with my big iPad either. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You just save more time, do more things, and you can buy another iPad. How many iPads have you had since you late bloomed?
Do I have to say?
Well, I can tell you, I'm on 3, so you've got to be way ahead of me.
I'm not answering that on the grounds it may incriminate me.
Oh yeah, this is being recorded. Your husband might see this. Palin, is there anything that Matt and I haven't touched on that you want to leave everybody with, or that they need to know before we end the show tonight?
Just do it. I think the word techie scares people, and it's embarrassing to me to be called a techie because my son is a techie. He's a programmer. He's a techie, a true techie. In fact, he writes Mac apps and iPad apps. Fantastical, too. How could I forget not to give him a plug?
What's that again, Palin?
Fantastical 2. And it is a calendaring app which also shows you your to-dos, and it's I forget what he calls it, but basically you can just say lunch with Brad Korn at Panera's tomorrow, and it will just auto magically populate where the fields need to go. You don't need to worry about going to the time field and going to the date field and going to the where field. So that's pretty cool. And you can type it or you can speak it. But what I really love about it for my real estate is that when I am showing houses in my calendar, under notes, I'll put in all the houses I'm showing. It may be 10, it may be 3, but I'll put the addresses in, 123 Main Street, Syracuse, New York, and all I have to do in my phone is tap on that, and it GPSes me there. No more inputting of that stupid GPS and looking stupid. You just tap it and it takes you there. Tap it and it takes you there. So that really has made my life very easy.
Awesome. And to know the developer too, huh? That's got to be nice.
It took me 2 days of labor to get this app 27 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I wonder how that runs on PayPal. All right, Paylin, you were awesome. This is fantastic. So I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. Now, I think we got every app, pretty much everybody was able to get it down. It wasn't like so fast you couldn't write it down. So if there was something, what's the best way for them to, they can review this webinar, right? And they can also send an email to brad@cyberstars.net, and we can round it up for you as well.
Or they can email me.
Or, yep, they can email. What's your email, Paylin? Actually, here's a great way to end this. If I just am totally blown away with what you shared with me, what is the best way for me to get a hold of you to send you a referral to Syracuse?
You can email me at PaylinTeam, P like Peter, EILINTEAM, at yourcnyhome.com. PaylinTeam at yourcnyhome.com. And CNY stands for Central New York. Our phone number is 315-474-1899.
And what type of people, if somebody's listening from all across the country, what type of people are attracted to your area? Who should I be looking for in my area to send you a referral if I wanted to get on purpose about it?
Well, we'll take anybody, almost anybody, as long as they have green. But we are a big university town. We have Syracuse University, Lemoyne College, Casanova College, not too far from here, Oswego. We also are a big hospital town. We have 5 hospitals, so there are a lot of residents coming in and out.
So I know when I came, I actually went to Albany, and there was a snowstorm, and I had to rent a car and then drive to Syracuse. It was like 2 hours away or something like that.
2 hours.
In a blizzard. Yeah. And I got into town about 1 a.m., and thank goodness for College Town, because the pizza place was still open at 1 a.m. I had pizza when I got to Syracuse that night. College pizza, too. It was awesome. All right. Cool. So, guys, if you're wondering about CyberStars, and Paylin kind of referenced that several times, we've mentioned several of the CyberStars. These are the top agents across the country. So if you are selling a lot of real estate in your area, and we're talking like, I mean, if you're doing 30, 40, 50 sales or more, because most of the people in this group that Paylin and I hang out with, these guys are doing 300 sales a year. That's who we hang out with, right? We're smart. But if you sell a lot of houses, or you sell like 6, 7, 10 million in sales, and you're somebody who likes to share your great ideas, like we have no holds barred. When we get together, we all have a listserv that we are posting things on. Hey, I need some help with this. I need help with that. What camera should I buy? My camera just broke. Everybody shares like their best stuff because it's the top of the top sharing their best stuff. So if you're a sharer and you want to get back 10 times return, and Paylin, don't you feel like in this group we get back way more than we ever give this group?
Absolutely. And that's how I learn all my things, is from all our CyberStar friends.
Yeah, she's so humble. I've learned so much from Paylin. She will have no clue how much I've learned from her. And it's that way with everybody. So if you feel like you're one of those people, you can go to the Cyberstars website now. It's cyberstars.net, not .com, cyberstars.net. There is a button on there that I want to be a Cyberstar. You want to find out about being a Cyberstar. You do fill out an application. You heard Paylin say it at the beginning that somebody gave Alan her name. We keep the group that way because we want it to be a sharing group. We want everybody to be able to bring their best stuff to a safe environment. So we do really look through that and make sure that who we're bringing in complements who the Cyberstars are. So basically it's top 5%ers. So it's cyberstars.net. You can fill out the application and we'll process that through. So thank you so much, Paylin, for sharing. This was fun, wasn't it? Didn't you have fun?
I did have fun.
So now we get to have fun and close this out in a fun way. Matt, you don't know this, but she called me and goes, "Oh my gosh, Brad, they were on that webinar for like an hour the other night. I don't have stuff to talk about for an hour." Paylin, we're at 53 minutes right now. So thank you for bringing Paylin to the game, and you really shared the stuff that we need to hear. I mean, we just need to hear regular people who are really doing it, you know. Anything to add, Matt, or anything you want to finish out on?
Yeah, so for any of you that were taking notes furiously and maybe didn't get the exact names of the apps and are not sure where to find them, I've got everything down, and we're gonna give it out in a couple places. Number one is the Google Plus page where you're watching this event right now. In the notes below that, all the links to the apps that Paylin was talking about are going to be there. And then if you received the email letting you know about this event, and that's why you're joining us, awesome. A couple of days later, you're going to get the link to the replay of this video along with the links to all the apps that Paylin talked about. So don't worry about taking notes. You're all taken care of. We've got everything. And, you know, that way you can check these out and incorporate some of those into your business.
So I got to throw in one more thing. Look at Matt's name. Vyral is V-Y-R-A-L. These guys literally, when we talk about being top of the top and sharing and on the cutting edge, which, you know, the Cyberstars are definitely the epitome of that, Vyral Marketing is definitely the epitome of cutting edge when it comes to video and doing this kind of stuff. So I hope you guys will check out what they do. See, they don't just do Google Hangouts. They actually take your business and bring video in there and do all that stuff. So if you're looking about how to get more digital and you want to save time and get some of this stuff documented and have some videos to post in your box site, Vyral Marketing is like they're the cutting edge when it comes to video. So thank you, Matt, for putting this together and the whole Vyral crew behind the scenes.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the plug. And with that, we'll pretty much end it off. We're looking forward to the next one. These are going to be great. I'm really looking forward to moderating these because they're packed with a ton of content and things that are genuinely helpful to people that can actually be implemented today, which is awesome. So, Paylin, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that you got over the trepidation and joined us, and you were on for an entire hour and didn't bail out the door and run.
I got notes galore, man. I've got like my top 3 things right here already highlighted in green, Paylin.
Yep.
So thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Love you, Paylin.
Bye.